Hi, and welcome back to another installment of the 12 Days of Christmas card series. This is day 5, and I'm doing something a little bit different with this video. I'm making it a little bit longer and also adding a little bit of background music. So let me know in the comments below if you like this style. Anyway, I'm using Brushstroke Messages stamp set by Simon Says Stamp. And as you can see, I'm using 3 different Gina K inks, as well as one distress ink in red. And I started off by stamping one of the paint swashes, but I ended up getting a little red mark on my paper. So, because I don't have the Tombow sand eraser, I decided, no problem, I'm just gonna start fresh on the back. Which worked out in the end because I think I originally positioned the first stamp a little bit too low. So what I do is I come in with each ink. There's no rhyme or reason to this. You can start with any color, do it in any fashion that you feel fits your taste. And I'm just stamping in a variety of different locations in varying intensities. So the second stamp, I did a little bit of second generation stamping where I knocked off a little bit of stamp on a scrap piece of paper and came back with a lighter stamp. With the distress ink, I really wanted a deep red. So I went in and I double stamped it. You could use the Misty. I just chose to do it by hand because it's a fairly large stamp. Pretty easy. I stamp with these all the time. And then I come in with the Slimline paint swash just to give it a little bit of varying depth and texture. And I really like the way it turned out. So here, several hours have passed and I'm just setting the ink, just trying to make sure that the ink is actually dry. I didn't want to make any mistakes because I didn't want to have to stamp this panel all over again. So once I made sure it was dry, I went in with the thinnest paint swash I could find and filled in a couple of those gaps with some Versamark clear embossing ink. And I'm going to be heat embossing that with my gold embossing powder by Recollections. Someday I'll upgrade my embossing powders, but for now there's no need. Once I'm done with everything, I wipe down my surface and move on to the decoration. So I wanted this card to be a very traditional red and green theme with a little bit of gold, obviously. So I pulled out some green glitter cardstock by Cricut and I cut it about 2.5 inches wide because I wasn't sure how big or tall or narrow I wanted my trees to be. In the end, they came out to be a little bit more narrow than an inch and about an inch tall each. So I go ahead and hand cut, hand measure, hand cut a couple of triangles, and those are going to be my trees. I didn't have a template, so I created the first tree I created. I used that as my template, and even still with that, I ended up having to trim off one of the trees. Here I'm playing with the dimension of them. I wasn't sure if I wanted to offset them or lay them all straight. In the end, I chose to lay them all straight because that's what I felt looked best. I kind of wanted to make this a little bit of a clean and simple card. So keeping all the trees on the same line ended up working out for this design. And if you're watching my video wondering what's going on with my crafting table, well, we're in between moving and unpacking and packing. So my craft room right now has turned into a storage and I'm just crafting on, I think this is a Rubbermaid bin. Anyway, So now this is later in the day. My Simon Says stamp card kit finally arrived. Woohoo! Stay tuned for an unboxing. And because I couldn't wait, I wanted to play with these, I decided to start filming. It was nighttime, so I apologize for the lighting. So I shave off about 1/8 of an inch on each side of my paper. Okay, how many of you are bothered by how I placed my cardstock in my Misty? I thought it wasn't going to bother me, but in the end I decided to flip it. But anyway, I grabbed the large open line Christmas sentiment, and then there's another sentiment in the stamp set that says Merry Christmas. So I'm going to use that smaller sentiment, and you'll see I'll mask off the Christmas and just stamp the Merry. And I feel like it gives it a little bit of a Kathy Zilski-esque vibe. I don't know. Agree, disagree? Let me know in the comments below. I like it personally. It's clean, it's simple, it's got a little bit of an elegant flair with a nice traditional red and green twist. And I heat emboss that, or heat set it. And because these are brand new stamps, I do have to condition the stamps. And if you're not familiar with what that means, it's just basically rubbing off any leftover residue from when it was being made. These are photopolymer stamps, so they have a little bit of glossy residue still on them, so you just rub them with your hand or an eraser, or just stamp with them a couple of times, and that'll get that residue off, and they'll stamp perfectly the first time. Although some stamps you don't actually have to do that too, so anyway, here you can see in between each heat embossing stage, I put away my embossing powder, I close my embossing powder container. Not everybody does this. You don't have to do it. It's not essential. I do it because I'm very clumsy and I'm prone to spillage. So to minimize spills, I just seal it. The card kit came with 3 envelopes, and I already have a whole bunch of envelopes. I don't need any more. So what I do is I cut them down. And you can see my husband's shadow would crop up a couple times in the video, so I apologize for that. Anyway, I got this idea to use the envelopes as a backer by a YouTuber named Attic Lane. So it's all one word. If you wanted to look her up on YouTube, it's Attic, ATTICLANE. She's got some really great videos, and I got this idea from her. So shout out if you're watching, Deborah. I like using the envelopes as a backer. They're nice and thin, so it doesn't add any extra dimension to my card panel. And when adhering it down, it doesn't add any more weight to my card overall. So here's how I make my card base. For this card base, because it's a horizontal fold, I cut it in half, my 8.5 by 11 sheet, score it at 5.5 inches, and adhere it upside down. You'll see in a second. Yeah, here I am being so meticulous. Whoopsie. And then I fix it. I finish off this card with a little bit of Nuvo Crystal Drops. You don't have to, it's not a necessary step. I like this card just the way it is, but I wanted to add a little extra to it. And that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for my Simon Says Stamp December card kit unboxing, and also for day number 6 on my 12 Days of Christmas card series. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to be more consistent about putting out videos every week. And also the like and subscribe definitely helps me out. Bye!